I think so much healing comes when you know about the energy centers. Because, like I said, when you don't know and you show up and you compare and you
Yeah.
go, gosh, something just must be wrong with me,
Mm-hmm.
then you get stuck in that loop.
Welcome to the Multiple Truths Podcast. We're your hosts, Holly
And Brittany. This is a space where we can come together healing in community, where we share our self-love journeys, insights, and wisdom.
a space with no hierarchy or judgment, fostering love, compassion, and respect, and where we honor our differences. With open minds and hearts, everyone's truth is welcome here. We are in this together. Let's dive into the episode.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Multiple Truths Podcast. You are here with Brittany today, and today I am joined by a special guest, Tangie, also known as the Feel Good Expert. Tangie has over 7 years of experience teaching astrology and human design. She has a real gift for making complex concepts easy to understand and apply in everyday life. She's built a loyal following of people who love her clear, actionable approach, and today she's here to break down the basics of human design for you and I so that we can start using this powerful tool to align with our true selves. Tangie also offers free resources. I mean, come on, thank you. It's nice sometimes. In this day and age, I feel like you have to pay for everything. So thank you, Tangie. Anyways, Tangie offers free resources to help you dive into your human design, including video explanations of your chart. You can find more details on how to access these in the show notes below. You can also connect with her on Instagram at the Feel Good Expert and pull your own human design chart at feelgoodhumandesign.com. But without further ado, get cozy, get comfy, grab your coffee, grab your tea. I got my water here. Hydration station. Don't forget to stay hydrated. Drink your water, but also get cozy with any other beverage of choice. And without further ado, let's dive into the episode. Hello, Tangie. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
Hi, Brittany. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm excited to have you here. For those listening, I actually had Tangie on my Going Beyond with Brittany podcast quite a few years ago now. Like, do you remember when that was?
Yes, it was November, I think, of 2022, because I was in Portugal. I have the timestamp in my head because I was in another country and I was like, I will make it work.
Yes,
We
no,
will make this work.
I remember that. I remember you were traveling. I remember you were in Europe. I remember you being in Europe, but how did I not remember you were in Portugal? My family's Portuguese. You'd think that I would remember that as well. But yeah,
Dude,
it was, wow, 3 years ago now. 3 years ago.
almost. Yeah. A
Crazy.
little over 2.
Yeah, crazy how time flies. Crazy how
Right.
time flies. But I was thinking, I was like, oh my gosh, starting this new podcast with my friend Holly, the Multiple Truths podcast. I was like, I feel like I need to bring Tangie back on and we need to talk about this again because I feel like there's so much. So for those listening, we're going to be talking about human design today. And Tangie is a human design expert. She knows a lot about human design. And I just feel like it's a really good modality. It's something that's just, there's so much about it. I can't really tell you much about it, which is why we've got Tangie here today. And we're going to dive into, do you know what? Why don't we just start? What is human design for those who have maybe never heard of it before?
Oh man, my obsession. I used to resist actually when people would call me a human design expert. I'm like, no, I'm the feel good expert. I can tell you how to feel good, but this system I'm still learning. But this year actually marks my 7th year of like knowing and
Wow.
integrating this system into my life. So I'm starting to feel like, okay, I can talk about this with some level of authority. And I'm
Well,
so excited to share it still. Yeah.
I was just going to say what's funny is like when you said the feel good expert, I'm like, oh yeah, that's what your handle is the feel good expert. But in my head, it was the human design, like a human design expert. There's
Yeah.
there's no coincidences. Definitely call yourself an expert. 7 years. That's a significant amount of time.
Yeah, like it's hitting me. It's hitting me
It
this year
is.
as like Because in human design, like your seventh year is a benchmark of integrating the system,
Mm.
because there is some evidence around having like full cell turnover in your body every 7 years, right? So you
Oh,
get to kind of have a
interesting.
whole new body
Wow.
every 7 years. And so if you've been introduced to human design, whether you're like really like working at it, trying at it or not, if it's been 7 years, then something, right? Some new
Mm.
version of you has evolved based on the knowledge. So if this is your first introduction to human design is a synthesis of four ancient systems. We use Western astrology, which I am an astrology girly from way back. Like that's my first love. We
Oh.
use the Chinese I Ching, which is ancient Chinese divination. We use mystical Kabbalah, and we use the Hindu Brahmin chakra system. And so it
Mm.
kind of like gathers in a lot of different spiritual teachings, but it takes these spiritual esoteric teachings and it makes it individualized. It
Mm.
gives you a path that's just for you, like special and specific to
Mm.
your aura. So it takes all of the Chinese I Ching and it says, these are the lessons of all 64. These are the ones that are going to really apply to you in this lifetime. This is what you're working on, right? Out of
Mm.
all of the chakras, these are the ones that are most creative for you in this lifetime. Within the Kabbalah, right? The paths that we take to enlightenment, this is your specific path. You can't take
Mm.
every path. It's too much.
Mm.
It's a lot, right? Especially for
Mm.
one lifetime. And then within astrology, right? These are what we're spotlighting. This is the
Mm.
type of energy we're spotlighting with each of the planetary placements on that map of the sky the day that you were born. So it's when you first see human design, and same happened to me, you kind of look at it and you're like, what is that? Is that
Mhm.
algebra? Is that geometry? What is going on? I don't like that. Like
A
that's
minus
what is that?
B, A minus B plus 2, 3. Yeah, it's a lot too. I feel like for somebody who doesn't know much about it, like because astrology in and of itself is a lot, right? And
Gosh.
it's
Yes.
you're pulling from 4 ancient systems. So there's I feel like it's super in depth. What comes to mind is I feel like it's a perfect roadmap. It really can
Mhm.
help you, a perfect roadmap. It can help you navigate this human experience in a way that is like most productive for you and your being, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I love that word roadmap because I describe astrology that way a lot, right? Because it just kind of like maps everything out and even gives you kind of this trajectory in life, especially via the nodes, but it tells you a lot about you. And
Mhm.
then human design is kind of like the backpack that you bring on the road, right? Like where's the energy? Where's the protein shake, right? Where's the nutrition bar? Like what
Interesting.
energy do I bring to this map?
Mhm.
Because you could have very similar astrology, especially to someone who's born in the same year as you, but your energy, the way that you show up is different. And so human design kind of helps to articulate that in this body graph is what we call it.
I love that. So a little bit, and sorry, can you hear me okay? I'm looking at the voice and am I coming through loud enough?
Yeah, mine's showing.
Okay, perfect. So that's all that matters.
But
I just
actually,
want
yours is showing for me and mine is not showing for myself. So maybe that's just how it
Oh,
works.
okay, okay, yeah, that's fine, that just, caught me off guard there for a little bit. But anyways, going back to what we were just saying, you said you associate roadmap with astrology, but then talking about all of these other aspects, like having the nutrition and all of that with you. So looking at, like, a chart, I don't know, what
Yeah.
it's called, like, looking at the chart, I'm trying to remember, like, the last time we talked about it. There's so many facets to it. I'm trying to keep in mind that the people listening, a lot of people probably don't know much about it. So I'm
Yeah.
curious, like what would the basics be? What are the like one if people are curious about looking into their own human design, what would be like the top 3 steps, or is my question even making sense? Do
Yeah.
you know even get what I'm
Yeah,
trying
so,
to
like, astrology, people
Mhm.
have, like, a big 3, and everybody knows it.
Yes.
If you know anything about astrology, you know there's more than the sun sign, and you're
Mhm.
like, "Cool, I can get down with the big 3." The
Mhm.
rest of it seems like quite a bit, but
A
I can
lot.
get down with the big 3, and I'm Aquarius, Sun, and Moon with Virgo rising, by the way, if anybody wants to know my big 3. So there's a big 3 in human design too: strategy, authority, and profile. So, strategy is going to tell us based on the shape of your aura, and we have four auric shapes. We have the generator and manifesting generator. There are two different types, but they have the same auric shape, which is warm and enveloping, pull you closer. I actually use you as an example a lot, Brittany, as like the perfect expression of generator, manifesting generator energy on social media. We want to see your enthusiasm. We want to see your excitement. You have this big open aura that people like want to come close and they want to know what you're most excited about. So when I come across your video and you're screaming, right? I'm like, that is what I need from the
Mhm.
generators. Okay. That's the generator type. So when that's the shape of your aura, you have this specific strategy for managing that shape,
Mhm.
which is waiting to respond. You're so open that like all kinds of things come in,
Mhm.
positive, negative, good and bad, whatever it may be. Lots of things and people are coming towards you. And so it's your gut that tells you if it's satisfying to engage and put your energy there or
Mhm.
not. And
Mhm.
so your strategy is wait to respond, also listen to your gut. The next most popular type we have in human design based on statistics. So generators are almost 70% of the population when you combine generators and manifesting generators together. Apart, they're like 35% each. The next most common is projectors, like 20% of the
Mm.
population. Not so open, not so
Mm.
enveloping. They're penetrating. They just poke you, right? They poke at you. It's a
Mm.
cone-shaped aura, so it's like very open and absorbing in the back. We need to take on
Mm.
others' energy so that we can teach them how to focus it. And I say we because I'm a projector.
Mm.
So we're very sensitive energetically. We take it on because we need to kind of work with it, alchemize it, and go, okay, here's how that can be efficient. Imagine you're a generator and you're getting all this stuff all over the place, and you're like, I just want to be satisfied. It's a projector that would tell you, here's how to focus that. Here's how to go through a step by step process. Here's how to be really efficient with your energy. The problem that projectors run into is this penetrating, focused aura when they go and penetrate someone without consent, right? When they go and
Mm.
focus in on someone without being asked, now it's a little bit like unsettling for the receiver. And so
Right.
projectors are meant to wait for the invitation. Wait
Mm.
until someone really sees and recognizes your gifts. Know what your own gifts are, first of all, right? Like
Mm.
what system have you mastered, right? What are you actually really good at? What do you naturally put into a step by step process on your own? What do people come and ask you for advice for in the past? And you can also look at specifics in your chart to see your strengths, but that's a whole other episode. Projectors, when they wait for the invitation and someone comes into their energy, is very easy to go, oh, okay, yeah, here's the energy to give you that step by step process.
Mm.
The next type is manifestor type, and it's about 10% of the population. So they're a little bit
Wow.
more rare, different than
Wow.
90% of people.
Mm.
And they're here to kind of initiate us, do something that's never been done before. They get this
Mm.
like 200% burst of energy. They're all in on something. They
Mm.
always have this motor to throat connection. So it's like,
Mm.
I have energy and I have action, but
Mm.
not all day, every day. That's hard to do, right? So they'll have this 200% burst. They'll initiate us. They'll create this big impact. And then they'll have to pull back. They're never going to
Mm.
have a defined sacral center, which is where
Mm.
generators and manifesting generators get their energy. So a manifestor type really is here to like get us started on things. And once they
Right.
know that, they can use their strategy of informing, hey, you're going on this trip with me. Let's go,
Mm.
right? We're going down this path. We're starting something new. We're going to do something that's never been done before. It's going to be different. That is
Mm.
so scary to so many people.
Right.
And thus they kind of resist manifestors, and manifestors feel rejected. They have this
Right.
closed aura. And so
Mhm.
when they learn to inform, now they know who is supposed to go with them or not on these
Interesting.
journeys, this impactful. And the last type we have is called reflector, and that's only like 1% of the population.
Wow.
None of their energy centers are defined. And their strategy, because of that, because they're so sensitive to all of this, it's the only lunar type. So everybody else has all this solar energy, right? They're
Mm.
so sensitive to that that they need to wait an entire lunar cycle. That's their strategy. I
Interesting.
never tell anybody to wait 30 days to do anything.
Yeah.
I think that's crazy. So I tell them at least understand the lunar cycle.
Yeah.
At least know where you are, right? Like you and I
Mhm.
would know a full moon versus a new moon energetically
Mhm.
in our own body. What does that feel like? I make very different decisions
Mhm.
when I'm ovulating versus
Mhm.
when I'm menstruating, right? I
Right.
make very different decisions on a new moon versus a full moon. My
Mhm.
energy is totally like flip flop.
Mhm.
And so if a reflector can know that, now they're living according to their strategy. Now they feel surprised and delighted about life and not disappointed that I don't have what everybody else has, right? They
Right.
actually have this really unique rarity. So that that I would equate with like your sun sign in
Okay.
astrology. That's like the first thing we notice when we run into somebody.
So there's uh, generators or manifesting generator, two different ones, but they're the most common lumped together. You said about 35%
Mhm.
each. Then we have projectors, which is about 20%. And then we have reflectors, and those
Manifestors and then
manifestors, and
reflectors.
then reflectors. Okay,
Yeah.
so manifesting generators, and then there's another one that's straight up just manifestors.
Mhm.
Okay,
They don't
interesting.
have the generated energy from the sacral center.
So you said something about, I forget the word you used. Oh, energy centers. Something about, I forget the word you used because I don't know much about human design, but you said, and I was going to ask you what that means for those listening. Something about defined. What does it mean to have like
Yeah.
an energy center that's defined versus not defined?
So when you look at your chart, it's colored in or not colored in. So
Okay.
defined is colored in,
Hmm.
undefined is not colored in. Defined is consistent. It's always on. It's energy that you have natally. You can rely on it.
Mm,
It's just there for
okay.
you. Undefined means it's kind of open to pick up other people's stuff along the way.
Interesting.
You absorb and amplify from the
Mm,
outside in. And actually, if we use your chart as an example, you have 4 centers. I'm pretty sure. Let me double check.
and
Yeah, you have 4
yeah,
centers,
I'm a
and you're a
manifesting
manifesting generator.
generator.
Manifesting generator, so you have a defined sacral center. That's the center that gives you all of that enthusiasm and
Mhm.
excitement.
Mhm.
But you have 4 other centers that are not colored. There's 9 total, by the way. There's
Okay.
9 centers. So in the chakra system, we had this like 7-centered being with the line right up the spine. According to human design in 1781, with the discovery of Uranus, we became 9-centered beings
Mm,
instead of 7. And so the heart center expanded. Instead of having just one, now we have 2. We have the G
mhm,
center and the ego center, will center, heart center. A lot of people call it different things, but it's a little bitty tiny triangle in there. And then the solar plexus center split. And now we have emotions and instincts
mm,
separately. So we have this
mm,
whole 9-centered being. Each of these energy centers has a theme. It's very similar to what you'd find in the chakra system. And they have a function, right? So they have like the crown means inspiration. What's the
mm,
function? It gives you the pressure to know, right?
mm.
So all of the energy centers like do something
Okay.
within your body. And if you have it turned on, if it's colored in, you have consistent access to that flavor of energy. If it's
Okay.
not colored in, it doesn't mean you don't experience it. We experience all 9 energy centers,
Mhm,
but you experience it inconsistently and you
mm,
experience it via the other. So if I
mm,
use your chart as an example, you have 4 centers undefined, not colored in. 3 of those are fully open. So not only is it not colored in, but there's no gates activated. So it's just
mm.
like really, really open, extra open.
So do you think that this is tied to like my psychism and stuff? Do you think that could potentially be why I'm so open in that way? Because I feel
Yeah.
like it just flows. It's like other flowing in. Does that make sense? How I'm I'm
Yes.
trying to explain that?
I
Okay,
see that a
interesting.
lot, especially in like crown and ajna, the top 2.
Mm.
People who have those like fully open, they just pick up on a lot of stuff.
Which ones are open for me, if you don't mind me asking?
You have the crown.
Mhm.
Your ajna is undefined, so it's still white. You're still picking up on stuff in both of those top 2,
Mm. Okay,
picking up on all
interesting.
kinds of stuff, but like really a wide pendulum swing of what you pick up on from the crown center, the center of inspiration.
Mm.
Really wide pendulum swing. Like you just get a lot like downloads, right? But
Yes.
it can also swing in the other direction and you go,
Mm,
I know nothing. There is not a
mm.
thing I know. And that can be really good spiritually, and it can also be
Yeah.
really bad, like, as a human.
Right. Interesting.
So this really wide pendulum swing happens when you have a center fully open, and both of the heart centers. So I mentioned there that it's split, the
Mhm.
G center and the ego center or the will
Mm.
center, those are fully open for you. So it's
Interesting.
like being able to see everyone's self-worth, being able to
Mhm.
accept people, being able to accept humanity,
Mm.
identity, direction, purpose, like all of that is just so fluid and open for
Mhm.
you when you're taking in from the outside. But if you put a microscope on yourself and you go, I don't know where the hell I'm going in this life, now
Mm.
you feel uncomfortable because you're trying to make something that's inconsistent for you or very fluid for you. You're trying to
Right.
make it consistent and it's just not.
It won't be. Yeah.
It can't. Just
Mhm.
it can't be. And so our most open centers can become very, very distracting, or they can become this source of like wisdom, especially spiritual wisdom, where we
Mm.
go, it is. It just is. It is everything all the time, and, I'm just here. There's nothing
Right.
for me to do.
Interesting. I'm curious talking about these energy centers, if you wouldn't mind. I mean, we talked a little bit about the crown and the
Mhm.
ajna, I think is what you said, and then
Yeah.
the two within the heart, the instinct versus the feeling. I'm curious if you don't mind talking about the other ones a little bit, just for those listening.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a helpful conversation to have because this is what makes you your type. If
Mm.
you're a generator or a manifesting generator, you have to have a defined sacral center. That's just it,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
So it is based on your definition that your type comes around. So out of the 9 centers, let's see. I'll go from the bottom up. So if anybody's like looking at your chart, by the way, you can pull your chart for free on my website, feelgoodhumandesign.com anytime. And I'm one of the only creators that has all of the chart properties linked to free videos.
Oh, so nice.
Some people have it linked to paid videos. Some
Mhm.
people just don't have links, but I have it's so it's like a free mini reading if you want to kind of go through each of your chart properties. But going from the bottom up, if you're looking at your chart, the very, very bottom square is called the root center. And the function of the root is it gives us pressure to move things forward. That's what it does, right? It gives us ambition, it gives us momentum, it gives us drive. Depending on what is making it colored in, right? Which center is it reaching toward out of? That tells you what kind of drive you have, and you can have more than one. But that's the root center. Now, right above the root center is the center I've mentioned a few times. It's called the sacral.
Mm.
The sacral center is our center of life force. So if you put it like right on top of a body, that's where our reproductive organs are, right? This is
Mhm.
the power to create something.
Mhm.
Now it can be create something physically, it can be create something sexually, but it's just the power of creation. So when you have that center colored in or turned on in your chart, that means you have this life force energy flowing through you all the time, doesn't turn off, and that can be very attractive to others. But you have to learn boundaries within that center if you have it
Mhm.
colored in.
Mhm.
What is satisfying to me? If it's disgusting to me, if it turns me off, I should not do it.
Mhm.
It will not satisfy me. I will be really upset about it. I'll be frustrated, really, is
Mhm.
the feeling that comes out of the sacral center. Satisfaction, if you're doing what your sacral gives you energy to do.
Mhm.
Frustration, if you're trying to make yourself do something that your sacral doesn't agree with. So,
I have a question to, talking about
yeah.
specifically that one, it being defined, life force, you saying that, people with a defined center, it can be very attractive to others. I'm assuming it's coming to mind, people almost wanting to like pull that energy into
Mhm.
them. Is that why you say like having boundaries is important so
Yeah.
that it's like, if this is my energy, I'm not going to give if it's not satisfying. Like you just said, I guess it has to,
Yeah.
yeah, interesting.
Because I have the ability to absorb and amplify your life force. As a projector, I don't
Mm.
have a defined sacral. Manifestors don't have a defined sacral. Reflectors don't have a defined sacral. So we get close to you and it feels exciting. And so I want
Mm.
to stay close to you. I want to use
Mm.
the energy that you have. I don't have that natally. And so when I come into your aura, something new comes about for me. Right. And I
Mm.
like that. So if I can honor that it's yours
Mhm.
and not mine, we have a great relationship, right? I'm like, "Oh, I
Right.
love your energy. I love your excitement. I like to be here." if I can't do that, or if I don't know that that's what's present in my own chart, then
Mhm.
I might become dependent on you for your
Right.
energy. I might start talking down to myself that I'm not like you because I don't
Ah.
have that same type of energy. So
Mhm.
human design teaches you how to honor your uniqueness. We call it the science of differentiation.
Mm.
I'm different than you, and that's not bad.
No, it's beautiful. It's what makes us all
Exactly.
so unique, right? Interesting.
Yes, and all of these charts are so super unique, and I love doing readings because it's like just listening to people's experiences and being able to go, "Oh yeah,
Mm.
that's right there."
That makes sense. Interesting.
Yeah, and actually before we started recording, we were talking about healing. So I think so much healing comes when you know about the energy centers. Because, like I
Mm.
said, when you don't know and you show up and you compare and you
Yeah.
go, gosh, something just must be wrong with me,
Mhm.
then you get stuck in that loop. I call it like a bottomless pit, a black
Mm.
hole. So for you, if you were to compare yourself to someone who was doing really well financially, or someone who seemed to have their whole life figured out, right? I always use, because I'm a millennial, I always use this example because gymnastics was like such a huge thing when I was a kid. Like the little girl who knew she was going to do gymnastics, her parents put her in there when she was like 2 or 3 years old. Like that was her thing. She had her whole life like panned out. It's all on track. And like it was so easy for her. She would tell me, no, it wasn't. I wanted something else, right?
Mhm.
But I look from the outside looking in and I compare and I go, oh, if only I had that defined G center and I just always knew what I was going to do, then everything would be so different, right? But
Mhm.
if I go, no, I'm meant to have an undefined G, because how exciting for me to have like every every job you can imagine. For me to be, I'm about to turn 41 in like 2 weeks. For me to be reading charts at this age, right? Like I started out in banking. Like I had my investment
Mm.
licenses. I did all this stuff, right?
Wow.
As a stay-at-home mom, I painted murals. Like I've done all kinds of off-the-wall stuff.
Mhm.
How fun, how
Mhm.
interesting. What a life I got to live,
Mhm.
right? If I knew that this was my map and that this is what I wanted to have. It
Mhm.
feels so much better than going, "Oh, I should have been,"
Right.
or "I should have," or "I should do." So
Yeah.
I have a personalized report on my website that like the whole end section is about energy centers and it's specific to your chart. So it's like
Mhm.
it will tell you what to affirm based on what's colored in, and what to like, what kind of talk that you tell yourself to let
Mhm.
go of based on what's not
Mm.
colored in. That, like just learning that in my own chart has been
Mhm.
super healing because I have 7 undefined centers. I only have 2 little centers that are colored in.
Interesting. What
Yeah.
w for so sorry, have we gone you said the root,
No.
and then I'm like, "Wait, there's
We
still
we
more,
made it
right?"
to 2. We got through 2 centers so far.
I'm like, "I already have more questions, but maybe we should finish going through the centers first and then."
Yeah, and it's helpful to know these also because when I mentioned there's a big 3, the next part of the big 3 is to know your authority. How do you make decisions? And your authority is coming from, again, your definition, what's colored in and what isn't.
Mhm.
So for you, your emotional authority, that's the solar plexus center. And that's one I haven't talked about yet. So I'll tell you what that is. Solar plexus center is our center of feelings and emotions, and riding our emotional wave and being able to kind of like sit with the feelings, but it's also a motor that gives you a lot of energy for depth and thoroughness. So when someone has their solar plexus colored in, they're advised as their authority, their decision making process, to like ride their emotional wave, to wait it out, to wait and see. That not only protects them, but it protects whoever they're about to work with because they just are slower because they're
Mhm.
very thorough. They're just
Right.
very deep and thorough about the things that they engage with and they commit
Mhm.
to. So when you ride your emotional wave, you're setting that boundary for anybody who works with you that it might take you a little bit, right? It might take me
Mm.
a little time to edit this. I want to kind of sit with it. I want to make sure it's how I want it. It might take me a little bit to get back to you, right? It
Mhm.
teaches people that it takes the time it takes. And someone with an undefined emotional center like me, I'm like, black and white, let's go. I was ready yesterday.
That's
Okay, let's do it, right? No big deal.
mm.
So
Interesting.
having that center colored in means something different than not having it colored in. Even though the energy is similar, I know that I can absorb and amplify someone's energy that is emotional, solar plexus energy. And I can also know that that is not my energy. I can be a little bit faster. I can be a little bit more black and white and about things, and that's not
Mhm.
bad. And
Yeah.
it's not good to have the defined center. It's just
Mhm.
how your energy works. And so we get to look around and we go, oh, you have that. That's fun.
Mhm.
That's cool. I like to observe you doing that. And I have this, and that's fun, and that's cool. And I'll do my thing the way that I do it. So
Mhm.
that's the solar plexus center. And I was mentioning that split, the other side. So the solar plexus is a little triangle on the right. There's another triangle on the left. This one is intuition and instinct. Okay. It's called the
Mm.
spleen. That's my authority. I make decisions just based on if my body will move or not. If
Mm.
body won't go, then I just can't do it. I can't make myself do it. There's nothing that I can do to get up that hill. So it's not that same if you're sacral authority, which I talked about a little bit. It's not that same if you have a yes, your body's in with you. You have the energy to do it. You have the enthusiasm, the excitement. Spleen is more like, no, and I'm not going to tell you why. I'm not going to explain it to you. I'm just not going to let you go. I use the example with the spleen. If we're talking about instinct and intuition, for example, I'm about to cross a street and for some reason my body says don't go, right? And so I just kind of pause and then a big
Mhm.
old truck barrels through. Body
Mhm.
won't go. Don't know why, right? Can't tell you that in a
Right.
moment. Just can tell you stop, don't go. And so it's
Interesting.
very intuitive. It's very instinctual to
Mhm.
have that center colored in. Now, if you
Mm.
don't have it colored in, you're taking in all of this energy about everybody's fears, everybody's instincts, everybody's anxieties, everybody's
Mm.
intuition. And you're like, what do I do with this? I'm scared of everything. Right?
Yeah.
So, learning how
Overwhelming.
to empty that out. Yeah, learning how to just go, okay, I can only live in this now moment. And
Right.
that's it,
Mm.
right? This is what the spleen center teaches us. I talked a little bit about the ego center. It's the tiniest little triangle. Some people call it heart, some people call it will center, but it's the littlest little center in the chart. But it has such a big impact on life, especially in this like capitalistic culture that we have right now because it does gives us the willpower and motivation to strive for material things, to compete, to make
Mm.
ourselves proud, to make our families proud. So when you have that center colored in, you just have this natural ability to like access willpower and motivation to get things
Mm.
done, right? To
Mhm.
provide. When you don't have it colored in, you look around at these people that like are able to create material success and you go, what the hell is wrong with
Like,
me?
yeah.
I am
Yeah.
nothing. Why can't I
Mm.
do that? Like,
Interesting.
why? How? What do I do with this? But it's like 65% of people that don't have a defined will center. And so we have to look to those people who have a defined and go, good job. Keep doing that. Take care
Mhm.
of me too, right? You're amazing.
Yeah.
Like I'm amazing. Let's all have really good self-esteem, right? Let's
Mhm.
be all communal and tribal and let's be fine with that. So it's
Mhm.
being able to accept, like, I'm not going to get anything done. You and I both, Brittany, via force of will. Never going to be able to motivate myself to do something that I'm not inherently like driven toward or my
Yeah.
other energy centers don't agree with. Like
Yeah.
willpower does nothing.
Honestly, it's so hard. Like, it's so like, that's so on point for me. Like, if I love something, oh, I'm there because I love it and I want to. But if I don't have the motivation, ugh, I just Looking to connect with like minded community on your journey of self growth, self love, and spiritual discovery? Join the Beehive, a supportive community hosted by Holly and I, designed to help you on your personal transformation and healing journey, and to help you tap into your innate wisdom with live monthly Q&A sessions, exclusive content, and a like minded community. The Beehive is the perfect space to grow and step into your most authentic self. For more information and to sign up, check the link in the show notes. But yeah, that's all I have to say to that is like, it's literally, that feeling of comes over me.
Yeah. And if you fall into that trap, okay, so anywhere that's white or fully open can become a bottomless pit, a black hole. So if you run into that moment and then you start making up stories and then you start saying I'm worthless, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you start saying I have no willpower, no motivation, I never have, and that means I'll never do anything. I'll never be anything. That's when you get in trouble.
Right.
But if you can run into that moment and go, well, my worth is inherent. I'm meant to be surprised by
Mm-hmm.
those random moments where I feel motivated by something, but
Mm-hmm.
I can't make that be
Yeah.
every day. And I'm not one that's supposed to push myself beyond my perceived
Yeah.
limits. That will hurt my heart.
Yeah.
That will not be good for my body. Let me
Mhm.
just let that go somewhere else for now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that center is different than the G center. So I mentioned that the will center and the G center, which is the diamond shape right in the
Mm,
middle, they split, right? They're both kind of heart centered, but different kind of heart centered. So the G center is more about love, identity, direction, purpose. Who's gonna love me? Do
mm,
I love being here? Do I love my path? Do I love my direction? Do I even have one?
mhm,
Right? So someone who has that like natally turned on, it's like there is some consistency in one of those identity, direction, or purpose, even if they can't see it themselves, because there's a lot about the human design chart that's unconscious to us.
right.
That's another thing that's easier to see on my website than most. The conscious side is the color in right, the unconscious side is the color in blue. So anything that shows up on your chart
Mm,
in blue is unconscious to you. Anything that shows up in your chart in pink is conscious to you. You know about it. It's who you think you are. If
right.
it's blue, it's how other people see you.
Interesting.
So I run into a lot of people and they have a defined G and they're like, but you're lying because that's not how I feel. And I'm like, no, other people see that about you.
Mm,
You might not see it in yourself. That might not be the
mhm,
easy thing for you.
mm,
But other people can see the consistency of your identity. They can see the
mhm.
consistency of what you typically do and how you typically are. So
Interesting.
go ask them.
Mm,
Go to the people closest to you. Have them reflect that back to you. So that's the undefined G, the defined G, the colored in G center. The undefined G center can get really lost. They can feel really, really lost in life. Where am I going? I have no sense of direction. I have no sense of my own identity. I have no
mm,
sense of my own purpose. What the heck am I supposed to do with that?
right.
How do I live this life like that?
Mhm,
But as I mentioned my own story, right now going past, moving toward my second Saturn return and going past all these major
wow.
transits, I can
Mhm.
say, like, we chose the exciting, we chose the roller coaster. That's what you chose for this
Yeah,
incarnation. That's what you wanted. You
right,
had another one where you were super bored and you had to do the same thing every day and it was really
right.
mundane and you didn't ever want to do that again. So you
Mhm,
chose this time to get on the roller coaster ride and try a lot of
mhm,
different things.
mhm,
Enjoy it. Go
mhm.
crazy. You
Mine
can.
is
You're allowed.
mine is undefined too, right?
Yours is open. Yours is fully
It's
open.
completely
Yeah.
okay, I was gonna say because that tracks my like, I've worn so many different hats in this lifetime, like,
Exactly.
literally so many different hats, yeah, but that makes sense. Interesting.
And do you have a judgment of that? Like, do you have a feeling about that one way or the other?
Not anymore. When I was younger, I remember, I there was like I'm the type of person where when I'm passionate about something, oh my gosh, I am all in on things. And there were certain things where I wasn't allowed to, like my parents were strict, and there were certain things I wasn't allowed to do, and I felt a certain way, like, oh, I could have done this, I could have been this, da 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 da
Mm,
da. But now
mhm.
I look back and I'm like, I definitely see it very differently now, as time has gone, if that makes sense. And I love that I've worn so many hats. It makes it fun. It makes it exciting. And you know what I'm saying? And it's like, who knows what the
Yeah.
future now has in store? Who knows whether
Yeah.
what other hats I'll be putting on? But yeah. So with where I'm at now in life, I don't look at it in a bad way at all.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the aligned way to be when you have a center that's like that, and you'll know that you're out of alignment, first of all, because it feels horrible.
Mhm.
And we call that not self in human design. You're just not
Right.
being yourself. You'll
Right.
know that you're out of alignment when you hone in on the theme of that center and you go, something's wrong with me. How do
Mm,
I fix it? Fix it now. Fix it yesterday. It's always been wrong. It's
yeah.
always going to be wrong. I hate it. That's
Mhm.
not self. You're just making up a story about
Mhm.
someone who's not you because that's just not your path. You need to just dismiss.
Right.
Right?
Mm,
Nothing to do is my mantra on any undefined center that you have. And again, I in my reports I give you like the specific phrases, the way that the energy centers will talk, because
mhm,
it's like having a whole team of like 9, right? You
mm,
have your MVPs, the ones you're supposed to listen to, that's your authority.
mm,
And then you have the other ones that like kind of are on the bench. They come in and out. They do play sometimes, but like you can't rely on them. They're not your
right.
best players. So
Interesting.
being able to go, "Hey, I'm glad you're on the team, but you're not my best player. Like you need to go sit down now.
We're
This
gonna
this
take a
play is
little
not
break.
for you. Go take
Interesting.
a little break. You're on timeout.
Mhm.
Stop talking."
Go drink some water.
Yeah, go hydrate. Get out of here. Because it feels horrible, right? That it's like that
Right.
little it's like the annoying little player that's like, "Let me in, let me in. I wanna play now. Let me
Yeah.
I can do this. I can
Mm,
prove it to you. Let me prove it to you. I can do it.
mm,
Like, let's go. I'm ready. I'm ready." And
yeah.
the coach is just like, "Mm-mm.
Yeah.
I know how you are. I
Yeah.
know you're going to promise all these things to me today, but then you're not going to show up. Like you're not as good as you think you are.
Mm.
So
We
yeah,
appreciate
that's
you and we need you, but
we do. We love that you're here. Yeah,
Mhm.
we like to play. It's our playground. You
Right.
need to play when you feel happy and playful and fun. You don't need to play when you feel like you're not the best player and you need to prove it. That's
Yeah.
get out of here.
Yeah.
Okay, I
Interesting.
have 3 more. The throat center gives us energy, obviously, to express ourselves. And if you have a defined throat, you might express yourself in a consistent way. And
Mhm.
what you're expressing is based on what channel. So the lines that are in the chart, what channel is like defining the throat. So like you're always expressing empowerment because
Mhm.
you have our gate of power going right into your throat. All right. So it's like all that energy
Oh,
you have in the sacral, it's like, I want to empower. I want to tell you right now.
um,
Let's take action right now. Let's talk about empowerment. Let's get excited about this. That's a channel that
interesting.
you have. And then you also have a channel coming from your spleen, the center of instinct and intuition, going right into the throat. This is
Uh,
what I normally talk about, right? When you have a defined throat. So you can look at your chart and you can see which energy center is connecting in. So you might be normally talking about emotions if your solar plexus is there. You might be normally talking about direction and identity and purpose if your G center is there. You might be talking about instincts. You might be talking about what you're excited about. You might be talking about your new perspectives and ideas and points of view. That's the ajna center, which is right above the
mm,
throat. The
mm,
ajna gives us the ability to take on these different points of view,
mm.
decide if we want it or not, what's true and what's not true in this
Right.
lifetime. So people who have this center like fully open, they're like, there is no truth.
And
Everything
that
is subjective. Nothing
and that's
matters.
me, right? That
You
that's
have an
that's
undefined
me.
ajna center. Yeah.
Yes, and that
Yeah.
makes
They're
sense
just
with
so
how
open.
yeah, that makes sense. I'm very much so that way. I'm like, "Yes. Yes."
You call it open-minded, right? It's part of the
Mhm,
mind. It's part of that, like
mhm.
the head chakras. An open-minded person is able to take on these perspectives from all over the place, but not get hung up on them, not make
Right.
it their own truth. Everybody's got a
Interesting.
truth, right? No big deal. Who
Right.
cares?
Yeah.
But people who have it defined might think, no, we must be certain. We have to
Um,
be certain.
mm,
Let's figure out what the truth is, right?
mm,
Let's have that certainty. There is. No, you're wrong, Tangie. There is good and bad. There
right.
is right and wrong. Let me
Mm,
tell you. Let me explain it to you. This is my son, by the way. He's like, I'm like, where did you get such a strong sense of justice? Not from your mother. What? Not from me. But this is in his astrology too, but he has a defined
mm,
ajna. So he's like always
mm.
just gathering up all of these details and all of these facts and trying to
Wow.
figure out what's true or not, trying to be
Mm,
certain about things. There
mm.
is no good, bad, right, or wrong in human design, right? So if you have it
Right.
defined, cool, lean in on that. Like,
Yeah.
cool, go figure out what the truth is.
Mhm,
There,
mhm,
yeah, sure. In this lifetime, in this physical body, there might be a truth. There might be something that you're really certain about, and you want
mhm,
to share that
mhm,
perspective, that point of view. That's why we love to read books, right? It allows us to put on somebody else's point of view for a minute, right? Try
right.
it on for size.
Mhm,
But if you're like you and I and you have it undefined, and it is a majority that does have it undefined,
mhm.
you get to go, oh yeah, everybody gets to have their own truth. That's okay.
Yeah.
Big deal.
Yeah.
And the last one is the crown center. So that is inspiration, figuring out the answers, the pressure to know the things.
Mhm,
Okay. So it's like everything. The universe is ever expanding. What are we expanding into? We don't even know. We
mm.
still don't even know. We're like in utero.
Yeah, we're
And we're
figuring
just
it
like a
out.
little grain of sand,
Yeah.
right? But there are people who have it defined and they're like, no,
Mm,
well, I'm going to figure out what the inspiring thing is, right? I'm going to speak the language of inspiration.
mm,
I'm going to inspire you via these new perspectives and points of view. That's the only way the crown can be colored in is through the ajna center. You have to
mm,
have some certainty on something to have
mm.
a certainty on what's inspiring. But those
Oh,
of us who have it open, which again is the majority, we're like,
mm.
everything's inspiring. Whoa, let me just get on my like dopamine
Yeah,
scroll. Like, oh my gosh, I want to do that. And I want to do
yeah,
that. And I want to be inspired by that. And that's really exciting. And you have to learn,
yeah.
right? Not to fall into the trap of,
Mhm,
oh my God, I don't know enough. And now I'm scrolling to try to get all the answers
mhm,
all at once. And that's like, I feel mental pressure. I'm giving myself a headache.
mhm,
You need to let go of that and go, no, like,
mhm,
whoa, there's so much to know. And I'm never going to know it. I'm never going to figure it all out. So let me just play around while I'm here, right? Let it be
mhm.
your playground. Let it be fun. Okay, we made it through all 9.
So I feel like that's, yeah, a good chunk of information right there. I'm curious with, yeah, all of those energy centers. So now that we've done, a little bit on each one, you said the next thing, or I don't know, I'm not even using
Yeah,
great
authority.
terminology. Yeah,
Yeah.
authority,
Okay.
and whether it's, yeah, if you could explain that a little bit.
Okay, so I gave you the reference of like the team.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So now we know what your type is. We know how your aura is shaped and what it likes to do and
Mhm.
how it like interacts with other auras. That's your type and your strategy. They're the same. Every generator will have the same strategy, which is wait to respond. Every projector will have the same strategy, wait for the invitation. Every manifester will have to inform as their strategy, and every reflector will have wait to a lunar cycle. Any website you pull up, they might use slightly different language, but
Mhm.
anywhere you search human design, if that's your type, that's your strategy across the board. Doesn't change.
And when you talk about, that's your type, that's your strategy, just to like um, explain it a little bit more on basic terms,
Mhm.
it's like, so for me, you say wait to respond. So if like something
Yes.
happens in my life or something, it's not reacting right away. It's giving myself a moment to see if that actually feels right for me, then respond. Or
So your strategy is the way that you manage your energy based on the shape of your aura. So waiting to respond, instead of you getting like into everything all over the place and initiating things and maybe trying to give advice or taking on any of the other types
Mhm.
energy, instead of doing that and like spreading yourself too thin,
Mhm.
when you have that feeling of I'm frustrated because I feel spread thin and I don't know
Mhm.
what makes me feel excited, what makes me satisfied, that is your cue in order to manage your energy to pull back and wait. Wait
Mhm.
for something to approach your aura instead of
Mhm.
you going out and trying to find the thing. It's a big
Mhm.
world. You'll
Mhm.
always find something. You'll
Right.
always find something to go look for, to initiate, to like you'll always be on this path of striving and feeling
Mhm.
this not enoughness if you
Mhm.
don't learn how to manage your energy and wait to respond. So for
Right.
you, it's just when you're feeling like out of alignment, you're feeling frustrated, you pull back, pull your energy back to yourself. And I have
Mhm.
also like a whole little meditation. My personalized reports are huge; they're like 50 pages. But one of the pages is a meditation on how to pull your energy and ground it back into yourself.
Mhm.
That is strategy. That's the point. Your strategy for living is
Mhm.
pulling all of your energy back and going, hold on, I'm doing too
Mhm.
much. I feel frustrated in life, especially if you're a generator or
Mhm.
manifesting generator. Frustration is your not self theme.
Mm.
I feel frustrated. I'm going to pull everything back and I'm going to wait. Something's
Mhm.
going to show up inevitably.
Yeah.
Somebody, something is going to come in, and when it comes to me, now that the waters are calm, right?
Mhm.
Now that I'm not like reaching and striving all over the place, now that I feel like settled in my own aura, when
Mhm.
something comes in, I can really know that it's my gut telling me I'm
Right.
excited. I'm
Mm.
enthusiastic. I want to do this. I want to put my energy here, right? Like,
Mm.
let's go. That'll
Mhm.
be satisfying for me.
Right.
That's generators. And projectors have this tendency to like put all their feelers out. So who can I give advice to? Who can I help? Who can I
Mhm.
save, right? Pull back, wait for someone to ask and be curious about what they're asking you for. That gives you a lot of insight in
Mm.
yourself. Projectors infamously cannot see themselves very well. We think we know,
Interesting.
but we have no idea. Manifestors, same thing, right? Like you're waiting for your next impulse. You're going to get an impulse to
Mm.
initiate something. You're going to say, something's got to change. It's time to take action. In the
Mm.
meantime, chill the hell out. You
Mhm.
don't need to hustle.
Yeah.
And reflectors wait the longest, right? It's being very,
Sure.
very discerning about your environments, who
Mm.
comes close to me or not.
Interesting. So
That's strategy.
interesting. Yeah, the okay, that makes sense.
So
Yeah,
so
the
strategy and authority go hand
Mhm.
in hand. Sorry,
No,
because
no,
I
no,
feel
keep
like I
going.
know you're an expert. Strategy and authority go hand in hand. Now that you're settled, right?
Yeah.
When something comes in, finally,
Mhm.
your authority tells you how to make that decision.
Mm.
Now that you're settled in your own energy and your own aura, and you know how your aura works, and you're doing your strategy, and you feel like chilling, right? You feel aligned with it. Something's going to come in. And when something comes into your aura, your authority tells you how to make that decision. So the decision that you're making as an emotional authority being is, can I commit my full depth and thoroughness to this? I might be excited about it in a moment, but I
Mm-hmm.
need to wait to make sure that I can commit not just excitement and enthusiasm, but also depth and thoroughness.
Yeah. Yeah, there's things flashing in my mind right now because I get excited, like, about a lot of things.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
like,
Because you have that.
yeah, yeah, and there's so many things that I feel like I wanna do or I could do, and I feel like I could give all my all to, but then I'm like, "Okay, Brittany, like, no, no, no. Like, no, you can't."
Yeah.
It's like, "Slow down. You gotta." Yeah. I'm thinking of, like, something specific actually recently that I didn't follow through with, but I was actually really excited about, and I'm like, "Okay, like, maybe, like, in time, but now is not the time." But it took me a minute to, like, come to that. So
Yeah.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Interesting. Um,
Perfect example.
yeah, so fascinating.
We're interrupting this episode to share something close to our hearts, our virtual healing circles. We have been loving them so much and meeting so many of you incredible people through them. Brittany and I are passionate about bringing people together to support one another and heal in community. We felt alone on our paths for so long, and coming together in community has been instrumental to our growth, and we've both seen the importance in it. We aren't meant to do this alone. In unity and vulnerability, we find strength, courage, and support each other on our paths back to ourselves. Our monthly virtual seminars blend discussions, workshops, and practices to nurture your mind, body, and spirit. Whether seeking guidance, healing, or a listening ear, our gatherings offer a safe, inclusive space for people to connect, heal, and grow. Join us on this journey of healing in community. Together, we can heal, grow, and thrive. Register for the next circle using the link in the show notes. We hope to see you there.
So with now talking about, the authority, strategy, all of the energy centers, I'm curious, what else do you think people should know? Like, what other basic things do you think people should know about human design that could help them, I guess, through life, as cheesy as that sounds?
Yeah. So strategy and authority is like the baseline all of the time, right? So it's like know how to manage your energy and then know how to make a decision that's correct for your energy. Any human design website will tell you that, like right at the top. Here's your strategy, here's your authority. And your authority is going to be based on an energy center. So since we covered all the energy centers,
Mhm,
that gives you a bit of an insight in how that energy works for you and how you make a decision. The
mhm,
next of like the big three that I would mention, like be curious about, this is what actually helps me create balance in my life. When I feel like a little too far this way, I need to come back that way. That's
mhm,
the profile numbers. And we have 6 lines that we divvy up into 12 different profiles. So it's a number, a slash, and then another number if you're looking at your chart. And the heading will say profile. So for example, you're a 2-4, I think. Yeah. You're a 2-4 and I'm a 1-3. There's
okay.
also a 3-5, a 6-3, a 3-6, a 4-1, a 1-4, a 6-2, a 5, right? Like we have all of these
Mhm,
different combinations. But if you understand like what each of the 6 lines does,
mhm,
then you get this understanding of how to manage your profile. And the example that I give around balance, I'll use you and I as an example. I'm a 1-3. The first line is the researcher. Okay. So, like, I need the info. I need to get to the bottom of things. I don't feel safe until I get to the
mm,
bottom of things.
mhm,
Until I know the source, I don't feel safe. Okay. So,
mm.
for me, I'm always like taking in all this knowledge. I'm always researching. I'm reading, look at my bookshelf behind me. I'm
Yeah.
reading all of these books.
Mhm,
Okay. I need like that source of information. And so,
mhm,
research makes me feel really good. It makes me feel safe,
mm.
but sometimes that safety keeps me kind of trapped,
Right.
right? I
Mhm,
also need to experiment. I'm a 1-3. So our third line is our martyr, our experimenter. I'll go try it out for you, right? I'll go try it and I'll tell you how it
mm.
went. Okay. I'll put my feet
Guinea
to the
pig.
fire.
Mm,
I'll take my research and I'll go see if it actually works. And this is actually how I've taught myself human design.
mm,
Read a book, read a chart, right? Like to a
mm,
person, right? So I go and try it out. I'm willing to like fail. I'm
mhm,
willing to make a fool of myself in reading a chart when I don't know everything that there is to know about the entire system yet. I will, but not
mhm,
yet. And I've
mhm.
said that every year, 7 years, right? And I know so much,
Yeah,
but I don't know everything there is to know yet, but I'm going to show up and I'm gonna
yeah.
experiment. So I just learned XYZ. Now I'm going to go actually try it on. Or if I go read a self-help book, right? The knowledge is great. It's super fun, but I have to like show up for
Try it.
whatever I've just learned to
Mm,
see if it actually works for
mhm,
me at least. And so
mhm.
sometimes I feel way too challenged by life. Like this is just really too hard. That's my third
Right.
line. Too
Mm,
much experimentation, too much failing. Like
mm,
I'm overwhelmed. This is
mhm.
my cue to go back and do some research, right? Go read something else, try on a new perspective, like
Right.
go get
Mm,
some more data in. So
yeah.
you're a 2-4, you're much more of a natural than I am, right? Like
Mm,
you're much more intuitive. Things just like fall in for
mhm.
you. It's like you've always had this certain like sense around being able to get into a flow state about things. Like I just know what I know and I can't tell you how I know it. I can't tell you where I got it from. You ask me, I'm going to tell you exactly where I got it from. I'll tell you the page number. Brittany's going to be like, I have no idea.
It
It
came
just
from
kind of
here.
dropped. It was just there. It was
Yeah.
just there, and that is but it's a hermit. For you
Mm,
to access that, you
mhm.
do have to get away from everybody else. You have to, like, get into a flow state. You have to
Yeah.
hermit. And
Yeah.
so your 4th line, though, your 4th line is very focused on foundations in people. Are
Mm,
you my person or not? Are we besties or not, right? I need my tribe
yeah.
around me,
Mhm.
and your tribe needs you most of the
Mhm.
time more than more than you would
Mm,
say it the other way around because it's unconscious to you, it's on your unconscious
mm.
side. Your tribe is going, "Hey, you're the center. You're the center of
Oh.
all of this." And you're like, "No, I'm a hermit."
No, I'm literally such a hermit, like, I'm such a hermit. I call myself a grandma. I'm, like, at home crocheting by myself all the time.
Yeah.
But just in general, I'm such a hermit. That's super
So
interesting.
your balance is between hermiting and also being around the people who you would consider not networking,
Yeah.
not like the broader,
Mhm.
okay, the people that you would consider like your family,
Mhm.
even if it's the family that you chose or you created, but the people who are foundational to you,
Yeah.
your balance is between that and that. But if you do too much for them,
Yeah.
you get away from your flow state and you get really like agitated and then you go
Yes.
hermit for too long.
No, that's so true. I'm like, I get, like, in this state of, like, I'm like, I can't," and I just need to, like yeah, so fascinating,
Yeah. So
interesting.
that's 1, 2, 3, 4 as far as
Mhm.
profile numbers. So if someone's listening, because I can't go through all 12 because Brittany's gonna be like, did you we're out of time?
That's so funny.
But if you want to kind of like mix and match, like
Mhm.
creating balance within in your own energy, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Level 5 is our problem solver, okay?
Yeah.
They're able to, like, take in this energy of the entire collective and anyone that's around them and go, "Okay, what's the problem and what's the solution?"
Ah,
They're very solutions oriented, but
interesting.
they're also very seductive.
Ooh.
5th lines, like, we wanna know, like, "What's behind the curtain? What are you doing over there?"
Mm,
But this also makes them kind of prone to being burned at the stake, right?
mm,
People can't see them super well, so they make
mhm.
these assumptions about them, right? And they
Ah,
go after them.
ah,
So a 5th line has to be very, very careful about setting these boundaries. Who do I solve problems for or not?
mhm.
Right? Like what do I want to get myself into or not because my reputation is at stake when I do.
Interesting.
That's the 5th line, and then the 6th line is at the very top, it's our role model archetype. The
Mm,
role model, in order to get to the role model, has to spend the first 50 years of their life as this martyr, okay, the 3rd line,
wow.
trying and failing, experimenting, and then you're able to go and bring your experimentations out.
Wow.
You're able to externalize them, and people are able
Interesting.
to view you as someone who has a really
Oh.
broad depth of experience, but it's
Mm,
experience that's earned.
mm,
So your first Saturn return around the age of 30,
mhm,
you get to like kind of calm down a little bit on the experimentation.
mhm,
And then from 30 to 50 is your time to kind of reflect and go, what was that like my
mhm,
first 30 years, turning the experience into wisdom.
mhm.
And then after 50, after your Chiron return, you get to step into this role model archetype. So that's anybody who has a 6th line. So when
Ooh.
you're balancing, you kind of understand the energy of each line and you go, am I doing too much of this? And do I need to lean into that a little bit more? And you just kind of go back and forth on that little pendulum swing. And this is the costume that you wear. It's the role that you play in
Mm,
this lifetime. So
mm,
if we're talking about strategy and authority, we're talking about a very internal process of how you
mhm.
manage your energy for yourself.
Right.
When we're talking about profile, we're starting to see how other people see you. So like we actually started this by talking to me about like my thing around being an expert.
Yeah.
Like, I'm always like, "I haven't tried enough yet. I still
Yes.
need to do some more
Wow.
experimenting." But for me to go, yeah, as a first line, like, I'm gonna do research that like, I'm gonna spend time researching that not everybody else is willing to do.
Uh-huh.
I can take on that authority as a researcher and say, "Yeah, I've learned and
Mhm,
I've earned a certain amount of expertise via my experience. That's me as a 1-3. So I can articulate that out into the public.
Mm-hmm.
That's my role. I research and I experiment, right? And so your role, I intuitively know, I get into my flow states, and then I share that with my foundations. And I see you like creating these communities, right? That are like really important, and you get really close to people. I don't do that as much. I'm like, no, let me just teach you and go away.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting. And you said that, so you just talked about 1 to 6, but you said it goes all the way up to 12?
Well, it goes 1 to 6, and
Oh,
then
but
we have 12 combinations.
combinations. Got it. Okay, okay, that makes sense.
So there's like a
Okay.
6-2, there's a 3-5, a 6-3, a 3-6, a 2-4, a
Right.
1-3, a 5-1, right?
Okay,
All of
any
these different
combination.
combinations,
Mm.
which would take me forever to go through every single one of
Yes.
them. But if you
Yeah.
want to kind of like trial and error, you can go,
Yeah.
okay, I have this one and I have this one, because I
Mhm,
talked about the
mhm.
6 lines. And you go,
Yeah.
okay, this is what I need for my mind. So
Mhm,
whatever your first number is, that's what you need for your mind.
mhm.
Whatever your second number is, that's what you need for your body. So your
Wow.
body needs to externalize its foundation in other people. You need the support of others, and they need your support too. They
Mm,
tend to center you. But
mm.
your mind needs to pull away sometimes and be able to get into your flow states and to hermit
Yeah.
a little bit. My mind needs research so that I can feel safe, but my body needs to go try it. If I
Mm.
stay in research mode, my body is going to atrophy.
Right.
So, anybody looking at their chart, any of these 6 lines, right? If you have a fifth line, for example, and it's on the mind side, okay, my mind needs to look at like problems and solutions. I need to be like processing that, right? If it's on the body side, if it's the second number, it's like, I need to really set boundaries for my reputation.
Right.
I need to know who to save and who not to save. I need to know who's putting me into these victim villain archetypes, and I need
Mm,
to get away from that.
mhm. Interesting. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
crazy, right?
I feel like there's just, like we're already almost up at an hour, and I feel like we only like hit on the very basics, like I feel like,
Right.
yeah, human design,
I feel
this
like we
is,
said that last time too.
no, literally, yeah, last time. And this was a few years ago now, so I feel like there's a whole new audience, but yeah, we could probably talk about this for literal hours, but I'm curious
Yeah.
for those listening, is there any like final, so for those listening, I'll have like all of Tangie's social medias, and I'll get you to send me any links that you'd like me to add, and I'll have all of that down like
Yeah.
in the show notes below. But I'm curious, is there any like final pieces of information that you'd like the audience to know about human design?
You're always going to find your way back to strategy and authority. So when you fall into the human design rabbit hole, you're going to go, I want to know everything about
Mhm,
my chart. I want to know
mhm,
everything about myself. Tell me every single number. Tell me every single decimal. Let's go. Right.
mhm,
And you can get really overwhelmed. You have 26 gate placements in just one chart. So trying to go and research and like take in all of that information and then go, okay, what's this and what's that and where did that come from? And now what's
mhm,
my perspective and motivation? And what do these arrows do? I need to know all of it. That can drive you a little bit nutty, and you actually really won't learn anything.
mhm.
It's too much all at once.
Yeah.
And
Mhm,
so if you can practice strategy and authority like really wholeheartedly and intently,
mhm,
and you get it, like you really, really get it, the
mhm.
next thing will introduce itself to you. You don't have to go
Wow.
find it. So, for example, once you know strategy and authority, we have something called the 4 transformations that comes into play with human design. Your body automatically starts pulling you in the direction of your ideal digestion. That's the first of 4 transformations. And the 4 transformations are the 4 arrows. We also call them the variables. So when you're looking at a chart around the crown center, there are 4 arrows, and everybody's like, what the hell is that? Right? Your body, when you're doing strategy and authority, when you're really, really doing it, your body will just pull you there. It'll pull
Mm,
you next into your correct environment. And
mm,
then it'll pull you into your correct way of viewing the world. And then it'll pull you into
mm,
your correct motivation, the way that you take action in the world. It's
mm,
just going to do it on its own. But if you're
mhm,
super curious like me and you love to get to the bottom of things, of course, like book a reading, right? I do readings. You can find lots of people that do readings.
mhm,
They're going to put their spin on it, they're going to give
mhm,
you their flavor. But I'd say, like, be careful. This
mhm,
rabbit hole goes really, really deep. It
mhm,
really does. Be careful, focus on strategy and authority. Everything that I create with my in my business is what I wish I had. when I was getting started, because nobody tells you like, do this, don't do that. I
Right.
mean, they'll tell you do strategy and authority and they'll be very dogmatic about it. They'll be kind of mean about it, right? They'll be like, you can't do anything in life unless you've been invited. Like that's been said to me. And I'm like, I can though. I can
Oh,
do
like,
whatever the
yeah.
hell I want. You're not going to tell me otherwise.
Yeah.
I actually can.
Oh,
So live out the strategy and authority. My personalized reports explain it in detail. Like that's the whole first half almost. It's like,
mhm.
this is who you are. And I wrote it like a pep talk. This is who you are. Do it. It's great. It's amazing. This
Mm,
is how you do it. Pull your energy back. It's yours. Don't be giving
mhm,
away everything for nothing, right? Like
mhm,
really be proud of what you have, like honor
mhm.
what you have. And now that you have that, do this. And now that you have that, do this, right? And it kind of walks you step by step, just
Right.
giving you like a taste.
Mhm.
But don't go nutty in the gates, okay? It'll
Right.
confuse you. And people will be like, "Hey, you can sell the thing from the gate of this thing and this is where all your money is," and it's not. They're lying to you. That's a marketing tactic.
Ah, I feel like, yeah, the song, it's like, "Just take one step at a time, there's no need
Yeah.
to rush," is coming to mind, but yeah, and I think that's just a good reminder just in general, in this realm of, human design, reading, just like readings in general, it's just really important to be so mindful of who you go to because this world is unregulated. Um,
Yeah,
it's so
it is.
unregulated. I say that about, even readings. Like if you don't resonate with my readings, don't get a reading with me, find someone who you do resonate with. But I was going to ask you, are you doing personal readings currently? And you are. So I will have, like I said to the audience, all of Tangie's links down below. So it'll be easy to find her if you want to book your own personal reading or if you just want to find her on social media or if you want to find her. You said you have links to stuff, free videos for them to access and
I
stuff
do.
too. Candy's great,
Yeah.
guys. Like, just yeah, I love that so much. So all of these resources, I really appreciate. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time and for your expertise,
Yay.
which is what I want to say. Your expertise. Yeah, thank you so much. I just feel like yeah, it's another modality that can really help people along their healing journey. And I just feel like
Mhm.
different things are going to resonate for different people. So if human design is something that you've heard of, maybe you don't know much about, but you've been drawn to, I definitely recommend checking out, yeah, even Tangie's page, like start there and just let your, depending on what your strategy and authority is, like like let that guide you. But yeah, it's definitely you said a rabbit hole. I feel like there's just so much. So but it
Yeah.
can really help you understand more about yourself. And one thing I want to add too is like I feel like you've mentioned this last time, it really helps you understand like your kids more.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the whole reason I got into human design because
Mm,
my son is a manifester.
mm,
And I kept asking the question, like he's a toddler, right? And I'm like, how do you parent a kid that you can't tell what to do? You just really can't tell a manifester what to do. You really, really can't. I'm going to reiterate that. You cannot tell a manifester what to do. And manifesting generators have a little bit of that too.
okay,
I see
interesting.
you like resonating.
Yeah.
You can't. And so when I started to learn about his design and this like strategy of informing, we took away so much of his anger. Manifestor's
Mm,
signature theme is peace. Okay.
mm,
They just want to do what they want to do and be left alone to do it. And when
mm,
you stand in front of them and you say, no, you can't do it your way,
mm,
that's when you get the anger. That's when you get
mm,
the rage from them.
mm,
My job as a parent is just to give him the information that he needs
mhm.
so that he can do what he needs to do in his own little lifetime, and it has nothing to do with me, right? It's
Yeah,
not up to me
right.
what he chooses to do. So I his dad and I both
Mhm.
were like we started using this strategy of informing with him like, "Hey, here's what we're going to do today. Here's what I suggest like as far as clothing that you'll need for the weather.
Wow.
Here's, the whole plan. Here's and even like food, right?
Mhm.
This food has protein, this food has sugar, this food has carbs. This is what protein does in your body. This is what carbs do in your body.
Mm,
This is what happens when you play video games, right? Like just objective,
yeah,
giving him objective information,
right.
like change the game. And now he's come to expect it from us,
Wow.
both me and his dad.
Yeah,
Like come in and go, okay, what do I need to know
yeah.
about this so that I can do the thing? And that's how we talk to him, just objective information back and
Wow.
forth. And that change, like he's
Mhm.
just the most delightful little person.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So yeah, that popped into my mind for whatever reason right at the end. So I know we have a lot of moms that do listen to this. So, if you just want to know more about your kids or obviously you don't have to do that, but I just feel like it could be, I mean, I'm not a mom myself, but I feel like it can be a really good tool if you are a mom. So yeah, just
Yeah.
a
I
little.
mean, a lot of times when someone buys my report, they go buy it for their whole family because they're like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I feel seen in this.
Mm,
And I need to know how to see the people around me. And it
right.
really, it is how I parent without any like indoctrination because I hate
Right.
that shit. But that's how I parent. I don't tell them like you have to be this because
Yeah.
you are this.
Yeah.
I just kind of underneath
Yeah.
the undercurrent,
Yeah.
like just kind of use that. Like I know that my
Let it.
youngest is a manifesting generator. I just give him things to respond to.
Mm,
And he's an emotional manifesting generator, which makes him so much slower than the rest of us.
mm,
And I give him time, even though it's annoying to
mm.
me, right? I'm fast. I was ready. I was ready to go 10 minutes
Yeah,
ago.
I'm
And he's
slow.
still eating his breakfast that he
Mm,
started an hour and a half ago. I have to give him time. I can't like because I know that I can't not, but I don't
yeah.
look at him and go, you're emotional, so you're gonna take forever.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just say, okay,
Okay.
let me know when you're ready.
Yeah.
Let me know
Yeah.
when you're done. So
Mm,
it's really, really helpful to like be able to differentiate yourself from the people that you're closest to and go,
yeah.
I accept you as you are.
Yeah.
And I accept me as I am. That's a
Right.
hard thing for most of us
Yeah.
to go, I accept me as I am.
Yeah.
And it's because I know I'm different than you
Mhm.
and I have a different purpose in this life than you do.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah. It's
We all have our own
beautiful.
thing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you again, Tangie, so much
Yeah.
for just
Thank you.
everything. And yeah, for those listening, thanks so much for listening to another episode. Let us know what you thought of this down in the comments below. We love to hear from you. And until next time, we will see you Wednesday. Bye, guys.
As we wrap up today's episode, we want to extend our deepest gratitude for joining us on this journey. Your support does not go unnoticed. If you enjoyed this episode and find value in our conversations, please take a moment to leave a review. Your feedback not only helps us grow, but also allows us to reach more people who can benefit from our community of healing and support. Every review, every rating makes a difference. Thank you for being a part of the Multiple Truths Podcast family. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Multiple Truths Podcast. Keep speaking your truth and spreading your light. We love you, and we'll talk to you next Wednesday.